Well, we'll be seeing the first game without Coach Saban, of course, this Saturday on ESPN, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. And guess what Western Kentucky did hours before we started the first episode? Named their starting quarterback. So I'm kind of curious to see what TJ Finley's going to bring out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, the thing I've learned about these type of games is that um, they're very unpredictable. All right, like Florida State and Georgia Tech, everybody goes in, they do all their analysis, but the bottom line is, when the kickoff, when ball, when play starts, that's the bottom line. And most of the time, uh, teams like Western Kentucky are a lot better. I mean, they're not the elite Power Five or whatever they have now, but they'll bring something to the table and they'll compete and they'll usually surprise you. I remember Coach Saban. I think he said last Saturday that playing those type of schools was always a risk. It wasn't like you could feel comfortable playing them, and then you run the risk. Somebody gets hurt, and so Western Kentucky is a good program, and they'll put up a fight. It will not be easy. It'd be nice if it is. Sometimes we get lucky and that happens, but historically, Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, all of those teams, Murray State, they'll bring something to the table.
Oh yeah, I mean, looking at Western Kentucky, I'm surprised they weren't added to the AAC with the way their football program has been over the past decade. That's just one thing I've been surprised about.
Yeah, well, that comes down to also the administration and the powers that be, and of the other schools. They may not have wanted them, in there and saying, oh, they bring a little more than what we want. So you never know, but they're a good program. Bottom line is they're a good program. They will compete. It will not be easy. Maybe, I don't know, but if I were going in and historically looking at Western Kentucky, I would not take anything for granted.
No.
Games can go south in a hurry. Ask Michigan when Appalachian State rolled into Ann Arbor.
Or
Yeah,
basically ever since then, like any Power 5 team that's gone against Appalachian State. So
yeah.
I bet we're gonna see. I bet we're gonna see Appalachian State once or twice on Steve Merrill's under the radar pits for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd never count them out. I'm not too much. I don't really go for the spread. I think that's too risky betting or whatever. But that's a team you don't want to screw around with on spreads.
No.
Historically.
Mm-mm. Austin says Texas A&M knows all too well.
Yeah.
I think Clemson's gonna feel the same way, DJ. I think they're gonna be feeling the same way. They're gonna be like, "Oh, we dodged a bullet."
Exactly. Exactly.
But looking at Alabama, Western Kentucky, what's your prediction from that game?
I think Alabama, in the end, Alabama will win. Um, I think it'll be a challenge to start with, and then of course, obviously, it's whoever makes the first mistake. A lot of times, it comes down to that. I mean, that to me, whoever makes the first mistake, that kind of sets the tone for the game. If you're an underdog and the team predicted to win, makes the first mistake. Now we feel like we're in the game and that kind of stuff. If you're, the underdog and you make the first mistake, then you start panicking and that kind. So I think it comes down to the tone. To me, is the first, whoever's going to make that first mistake.
Our buddy Austin has a 31-17 prediction. And Ryan Flanagan says 44-24. I'm going to go ahead and say
What's the spread on the What's Las Vegas saying? I didn't get a chance to look today. It changes all the time. I kind of wait to the last minute.
Well, our
I'm gonna
Crimson
say
Tide.
I'm gonna say it's a pretty good spread. So I think I would, if I were playing Western, if I were betting, I would bet against the spread. I don't think it's going. I think there's a lot of things that have to blend in and gel. So I would bet against the spread, but I'm not. The total points, 60, 70, whatever. I would just look at the spread and probably lean against it. I think.
Well, according to ESPN Bet, it's 31.5. So it's
Okay.
yeah. Over under is 59.5 for the total
So
point.
31.59.
Yep.
That's interesting.
So
Somebody with a little more mathematical and know-how is going to have to. But I wouldn't trust the spread. First games are just notorious. I mean, look at Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah.
Too many things. Too many things.
Well, everybody brings their A game against Blue Bloods, and especially teams that are defending conference champions.
Yeah, and Alabama. I don't know. We'll find out with Coach DeBoer, but Coach Saban never ran up the score, and
No.
he did not do that kind of stuff. I have not looked in Coach DeBoer's background to see spreads and stuff. I'm sure people in the know-how have looked that up and seen historically, that kind of stuff. But with Coach Saban, you didn't do that kind of stuff. Expect him to run it up, and Coach Bryant didn't do that. He'd pull the starters, he'd tone it down. So we'll see.
Me personally, if somebody's like running their mouth to you, you run up, score on them just to show them.
Yeah, so
you don't
Steve
do
Spurrier, it's not our job to quit scoring. It's your job to stop us from scoring.
Yep.
Oh, Spurrier, there's you a character.
Man, he is missed dearly.
Yeah. Hey, I got a little something for everybody. Coach Spurrier, Steve Spurrier, won. He was Heisman Trophy winner. He was the first pick of the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, and I want to say it was back then it would have been the 67 draft because it was in the spring. And guess who the second pick was for the San Francisco 49ers?
Who was that?
My father-in-law, Wayne Trimble.
Nice.
Was the second pick, okay, after Steve Spurrier.
There we go.
There you go. So anyway, but yeah, Coach Spurrier, you got to stop us from scoring. But Coach Stallings, people like that old school, they wouldn't. But people betting money, that's what you got to think about. What's the habit here? Do they leave in the starters? Do they keep throwing it down the field, or do they shut it down? So.
Well, for me, I've looked at the spread and I've decided it's going to be a 45-17 victory for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
17? You're not real excited about the Bama D, huh?
I feel like Western Kentucky will try to make it a little bit exciting, and we'll just wait and see.
Well, no doubt on that, but
it won't be like Alabama, South Florida last year. There's no worries there because we have Milroe now.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell anybody watching this: when you start making these bets and making these predictions, you always go down the trenches. You got to look at the offense, defensive lines of both teams. I don't care who your quarterback is. I know they get all the glory, running backs, receivers, and stuff like that. But those guys down there in the trenches, the offense and defensive line, you got to look at those matchups because those are the guys that are going to decide the game. Okay, so if it's me predicting the score, and I never do, I don't consider myself that whatever. Prognosticating ability, but if I were going to do it, I'd look at what are the offensive line, defensive line matchups. Yeah. That's where I'd start the predictions, and that's where I bet my money.
Yeah, you always have to look at the O line and the D line because if you don't, it's going to bite you. It will bite you. You can't just only look
Exactly.
at the star QB or the star receivers or the star running back. You can't just only look at offense and you can't just only look at defense. You got to look at all the aspects of the team and you got to look at the special teams as well. You cannot leave out a single detail.
No, no. But if that's where my route is, I'm gonna look at that front line on both sides of the ball, and that's where I start. So anyway, but there's smarter people out there than me.
Well, I will say, at least we're not predicting Texas A&M to win the national championship in 2022 like Desmond Howard on College Game Day.
Yeah, Texas A&M ain't gonna win it.
Uh,
Not then, and not this year.